The Siege of Music, Haven Colony. Final hours, the warning sirens had been screaming for 3 days straight. Director Vera Chin stood in the command center of Haven Colony watching the shield. Integrity drop another 2%, 48%. Remaining, maybe 6 hours before complete. Failure maybe less if the Krillian Empire decided to increase their bombardment. Haven Colony had never been meant for war. The settlement existed on the edge of the outer rim, a place where different species came to mine rare minerals and build lives far from their war-torn home worlds. 12,000 souls called Haven home. Humans, vaccines, totally shifted ones and dozens of other species. They had built something beautiful together, gardens that mixed earth roses with vaccine crystal flowers, markets where the smell of human coffee mixed with totally spiced bread, children of different species playing in parks designed for multiple gravity preferences. Now those same parks were shelters. The gardens had been converted to emergency medical stations, and the market stood empty while everyone huddled in reinforced sections waiting for the end. The Krillian demand Vera, second in command, a Vaxian named Kelry, approached with his sensor pad. His normally blue skin had turned pale gray. With stress, director, they're hailing. Again, 4th time today. Vera touched the communication console. The screen filled with the face of Commander Zaroth, supreme leader of the Krillian assault fleet. His species was reptilian, with scales that shifted between green and black. 3 eyes blinked independently, and his mouth held rows of serrated teeth. The Krillians had conquered 17 systems in 2 years. They were efficient, ruthless, and had never been defeated. Director Chin, Zaroth said, his voice carrying the confidence of absolute certainty. Your shields are failing. This is a mathematical inevitability. Surrender Haven Colony to Krillian authority. Your people will be processed and relocated to appropriate labor facilities. Resist further and we will salvage what remains after your shields collapse. Vera kept her expression neutral, though her heart pounded. Commander, Haven is a civilian colony operating under the outer rim accord. We have no military installations. We're protected by interstellar law. Zaratha's 3 eyes focused on her with something like amusement. The accord is words. We are power. Words do not stop. Plasma torpedoes. You have 4 hours to decide, director. After that, the decision will be made for you. The screen went dark. Vera looked around the command center. Crix and his technical team had done everything possible with their 3 aging defense satellites and minimal weaponry. Haven had 6 patrol craft designed to chase off pirates, not fight a military fleet. The Krillians had brought 42 warships, battle cruisers, destroyers, fighter carriers, a fleet designed to crush resistance before it could form. A desperate call. Send the distress signal again, Vera said quietly. All frequencies, emergency protocols, everything we have. Kelry nodded, but they both understood the reality. The nearest coalition military base was 9 days away at maximum speed. Every nearby system had either fallen to Krillian expansion or lacked the strength to intervene. The signal would broadcast into empty space, a final act of defiance before Haven Colony became another statistic. A young girl approached from the civilian section. Her name was Mira, a human child of 8 years whose parents had died when their transport was caught in a Krillian raid. 6 months ago, Vera had been caring for her since. The girl's brown eyes were wide with fear, but she tried to be brave. Director Chin, Mira whispered. Are the rescue ships coming? Vera knelt down to the girl's level. She wanted to lie to give comfort, but Mira deserved honesty. I don't know, sweetheart, but we're doing everything we can. Mira nodded slowly. My teacher said humans are tough. She said Earth is a dangerous place and humans learn to survive there. Is that true? Yes, Vera replied, feeling her throat tighten. Earth is tough and humans learn to be tougher. Another impact shook the station. Somewhere in the lower levels, structural alarms began their urgent warnings. The colony's artificial gravity fluctuated for a moment before stabilizing. Vera stood and returned to her command console. Kellex was staring at his sensors with an expression of confusion. Unexpected arrival, Director Kell said slowly. We have a contact. Edge of the system. Single vessel just dropped out of hyperspace. Vera felt her stomach sink. Krillian reinforcements. No different. Energy signature. Very different. Crix worked his controls, his fingers moving rapidly across the holographic display. The mass readings are unusual. That's the heat output suggests their reactors are running at levels that should be dangerous, and they're accelerating toward us fast. On the tactical display, the single contact multiplied. 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8, 8 vessels in a tight formation, moving with military precision. Identification there? Asked. Kellex's mouth fell open slightly. The signal identifies them as Earth Defense Flotilla, 3rd Deep Space Response Group. Director, they're human ships. Vera's heart skipped. She pulled up what little information Haven's database had on Earth's military. The planet was classified as a level 9 hazard world due to extreme environmental dangers. Humans had been granted limited trading status, but generally kept to their own systems. There were notes about unusual physical resilience and rapid adaptability, but nothing suggesting major military capability. 8 ships against 42 Krillian warships. The mathematics were brutal. First contact. Commander Zaratha's face appeared on the main screen again, but this time he was addressing the newcomers. Unknown vessels, you are entering Krillian controlled space. Identify yourselves and state your intentions immediately. The response came in clear galactic standard with an accent Vera had never heard before. The voice was male, calm, with an underlying edge of iron determination. This is Captain Marcus Webb, Earth Defense Flotilla. We received a distress signal from Haven Colony. We are responding to that call. Zaratha's scales shifted to a darker shade, indicating annoyance. This colony is under Krillian jurisdiction. Your interference is neither requested nor authorized. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. POS. The human ships continued their approach, not slowing, not deviating from their course toward Haven Colony. When Captain Webb spoke again, something in his voice made Vera shiver. It was the sound of someone who had made a decision that could not be unmade. Commander Zaroth, you are bombarding a civilian colony. You will cease all hostile actions immediately and withdraw beyond the system boundary. This is your only warning. Zaroth actually laughed, a harsh grating sound. You have 8 ships, we have 42. Your species barely registers in our intelligence files. Leave now or share The fate of this colony, Vera activated her own communication panel. Captain Webb, this is Director Vera Chin of Haven. Colony, please, you don't have to do this. The Krillians will destroy you. Don't sacrifice yourselves for us. Another pause, then Webb's voice returned. Softer this time, almost gentle. Director Chin, you send out a call for help. We're answering. That's what we do. Get your people to the deepest shelters you have. This is about to get very loud. The 8 human ships accelerated, not away from the Krillian fleet, toward it the moment before. Kelry stared at his display in disbelief. They're charging 8 ships against 42. They're insane. Vera couldn't look away from the tactical screen. The 8 human vessels formed a spearhead formation, driving straight at the Krillian blockade. Weapons were charging on both sides. In moments, the first shots would be fired. Mira pressed against Vera's side, looking up at the display. The humans came, she whispered. Yes, Vera replied, unable to process what she was seeing. They came. On his flagship, Commander Zeroth gave the order with absolute confidence. All ships open fire, destroy the human vessels, show them the price of defiance. The Krillian fleet opened fire. 42 warships unleashed their weapons in a coordinated volley. The space between the fleets lit up with energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and missile salvos, enough firepower to vaporize a moon. The human ships didn't slow down. They didn't try to evade. They flew straight into the storm, and then something impossible happened. Battle of Haven, the storm of fire. The first Krillian volley crossed the distance in seconds. Energy beams that could cut through reinforced titanium. Plasma torpedoes hot enough to melt stone. Guided missiles that never missed their targets. All of it converged on the lead human vessel, a heavy cruiser identified as the Defiant, in Haven Colony's command center. Verachin watched in horror as the human flagship disappeared behind a wall of fire and explosive energy. The sensors couldn't penetrate the blast. No ship could survive that concentration of firepower. The Krillians had just demonstrated why. They had conquered 17 systems. They're gone, Kelry whispered, his vaccine features showing despair. It's over. But the explosions cleared, the light faded, and the Defiant emerged from the firestorm. The ship's hull was scarred. Armor plating glowed red-hot in dozens of places. Sections of the outer hull had been torn away, revealing the internal framework, but the ship was intact. Its engines burned bright and its weapons were coming online. Impossible, Kelix breathed. Nothing survives that. Vera stared at the display, her mind struggling to process what her eyes were seeing. The human ship had taken enough damage to destroy 3 Krillian cruisers. It looked wounded, battered, but it was still fighting, still advancing. Human response. Captain Marcus Webb's voice came over the open channel, calm despite what his ship had just endured. All ships execute attack pattern Omega. Show them what Earth taught us. The human fleet split apart with practiced precision. No elegant formations, no predictable patterns. They moved like predators, each ship independent but coordinated. The Defiant opened fire. No bright energy beams, no elegant plasma weapons, just metal, solid slugs of depleted uranium accelerated to a fraction of light speed by magnetic rail systems, kinetic kill vehicles that relied on mass and velocity instead of Exotic energy fields, the first Krillian destroyer simply ceased to exist. The kinetic round punched through its shields like they weren't there, through the hull, through the reactor core, and out the other side. The ship exploded a full second after the round had already passed through it. Commander Zeroth stared at his tactical display in disbelief. What kind of primitive weaponry is that? Solid projectiles. How did it penetrate our shields? His weapons officer worked frantically at her console, all three eyes wide with confusion. Commander, their weapons don't use energy fields. Our shields are designed to deflect or absorb energy. These are just mass and velocity. The shields offer minimal resistance against kinetic impact, breaking the line. Human destroyer Swift dove beneath the Krillian formation. Its captain exploiting the gap Zaratha's ships had created when they all focused on the Defiant. Two more Krillian vessels exploded as the Swift's guns found their targets. The human ship moved with aggressive confidence, making turns that should have torn it apart from the G-forces alone. On the Krillian flagship, alarms were sounding everywhere. Commander, we've lost 4 ships in 90 seconds. Their armor is absorbing our weapons fire. We've never encountered this construction method before. Zaratha's scales shifted to a dark angry black, then increase firepower. All ships concentrate fire, overwhelmed their defenses through sustained bombardment. The Krillian fleet adapted, pouring everything into the human ships, but the humans had been forged in a different kind of warfare. They came from a world where the oceans could swallow entire cities, where the weather could kill thousands, where microscopic organisms evolved faster than medicine could counter them. They had learned to build things that endured. The human cruiser Resilient took a direct hit from 3 Krillian battle cruisers. Its shields collapsed immediately, armor melted and buckled. But the ship kept fighting. Internal bulkheads sealed, damage control teams rerouted power. The Resilient returned fire even as sections of its hull glowed white hot. The turning point. Captain Webb's tactical officer, a woman named Commander Sarah Park, coordinated the fleet movements from her station on the Defiant. Captain, the Krillians are clustering their formation. They're trying to create overlapping fields of fire. Webb studied the tactical display. Seeing the pattern, the Krillians fought like most advanced civilizations fought, with elegant tactics designed to maximize energy weapon efficiency. They had never faced an opponent who built ships like mobile fortresses and used weapons that didn't care about energy shields. All ships drive the wedge. Webb ordered straight through their center. Make them scatter. The human fleet accelerated, pushing their reactors beyond safe operational limits. They didn't have the luxury of playing it safe. 8 ships against 38 remaining Krillian vessels meant they needed to create chaos to break the enemy's cohesion. The Defiant led the charge, its massive bulk smashing through the Krillian line. 2 destroyers flanked it, their guns firing continuously. The human ships didn't dance around the enemy, they went through them. A Krillian battle cruiser tried to block the Defiant's path, its captain believing his ship's superior size would force the humans to veer off. Captain Webb didn't veer, all forward. Guns fire. The Defiant's main cannon spoke as one, 3 kinetic rounds, weighing 2 tons each, moving at 40 km/s. The first round shattered the Krillian Shields, the second tore through the bow section, the third hit the reactor. The battle cruiser exploded with such force that nearby Krillian ships took damage. From the debris, individual courage on the destroyer Swift, Captain Jennifer Torres faced her own crisis. 3 Krillian frigates had surrounded her ship, pouring fire from multiple angles. The Swift's armor was failing, internal systems shorting out from the sustained bombardment. Captain, we've lost main power to the port weapons array, her engineering officer reported. Starboard array is down to 40% efficiency. Torres didn't hesitate. Emergency power to engines, ramming speed toward the lead frigate. Her crew stared at her split second before training took over. The Swift accelerated directly at the nearest Krillian ship. The frigates continued firing, confident they could destroy the damaged destroyer before impact. At the last possible moment, Torres gave the order, hard to starboard, all remaining guns point blank range. The Swift spun its momentum, carrying it past the Krillian frigate. With mere meters of clearance, every functional weapon on the starboard side fired at contact distance. The frigate's shields couldn't stop rounds fired from less than 50 m away. The Swift's guns tore through armor, through decks, through the frigate's command center. The Krillian ship tumbled away, venting atmosphere and debris. The Swift emerged from the maneuver damaged but functional, its crew already working to restore weapons power. Breaking point. 20 minutes into the battle, Commander Zaroth finally understood what he was facing. These weren't just ships, they were the product of a species that had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every single day. Humans had survived ice ages and super volcanoes. They had endured pandemics that killed millions and wars that scarred their entire planet. They had learned to build things that could withstand anything, because on Earth, anything less meant extinction. Commander, we've lost 19 ships, his tactical officer reported, her voice shaking. 12 more are heavily damaged. The humans have lost no vessels, though several are significantly damaged. Zaroth looked at the tactical display. His perfect formation was shattered. Ships were breaking away, captains making individual decisions to survive rather than following his orders. The confidence that had conquered 17 systems was crumbling against 8 human ships that refused to die. All ships withdraw, Zaroth said, the words bitter in his mouth. Fall back to rally point. Sigma, we will regroup and reassess. The remaining Krillian vessels broke off, accelerating away from Haven Colony. Some limped on damaged engines, others fled at maximum speed, abandoning their slower companions. Captain Webb watched them go from his command chair. His ship was scarred and wounded, but it had held pursuit. Captain, Commander Park asked. Webb shook his head. Negative. Our mission was to protect Haven Colony, not to chase down a retreating enemy. Besides, let them run, let them tell others what happened here. After in Haven Colony's command center, silence reigned. The tactical display showed the Krillian fleet disappearing toward the system's edge. The human ships held position, their weapons still active, ensuring the enemy wouldn't return. Verachin's hands were shaking. She had watched 8 ships defeat a force 5 times their size. It shouldn't have been possible, but humans had made it possible. Director Chin, Captain Webb's voice came over the communication channel. Haven Colony requesting permission to dock medical and repair Teams, we have field hospitals and engineering equipment if you need assistance. Vera touched the communication panel, her voice thick with emotion. Permission granted. Captain Webb, and thank you for answering our call. There was a pause, then Webb replied, and Vera could hear the weariness in his voice. The battle might have looked one-sided, but she could see the damage reports scrolling across her screen. The human ships had taken tremendous punishment. Director Chin, you sent a distress signal. We answered. That's what neighbors do. Even neighbors you haven't met yet. Mira tugged on Vera's sleeve, looking up at her with wonder. The humans really are tough, aren't they? Vera knelt down and hugged the girl, feeling tears on her cheeks. Yes, sweetheart, they really are. Over the next hours, human crews came aboard Haven Colony. They brought medical supplies, engineering equipment, and food. They worked alongside Haven's residents, helping repair damage and treat wounded. They spoke a dozen different Earth languages, but communicated effectively with species they had never encountered before. The New Dawn, as Haven Colony's main power systems came back online, Vera stood with Captain Webb in the observation deck. The human captain was younger than she had expected, maybe 40 standard years, with short dark hair and eyes that had seen too much combat. Why did you come? Vera asked quietly. Your government could have ignored our signal. We're not part of any alliance with Earth. We're just a colony on the edge of nowhere. Webb looked out at the stars at his battered ships holding position around the colony. Director, Earth spent most of its history divided. We fought each other over land, resources, ideology, pride. We nearly destroyed ourselves a dozen times, but we learned something important. We learned that the only way to survive is to look out for each other. When someone calls for help, you answer. It doesn't matter if they're strangers. It doesn't matter if it's dangerous. You answer the call. He turned to face her, and Vera saw the weight of responsibility in his eyes. Besides, the galaxy is changing. Empires like the Krillians are expanding, and they're not going to stop unless someone stands up to them. Earth decided we'd rather stand up than wait for them to reach our doorstep. Crix approached with a data pad. Director, we're receiving messages from 17 nearby systems. Word is spreading about what happened here. They all want to know about the humans who defeated the Krillians. Webb smiled slightly. Well, that's going to complicate things. Vera laughed, surprising herself. Captain, I think you and your people just changed the balance of power in this entire sector. Maybe, replied, or maybe we just showed everyone else that the Krillians aren't invincible. Sometimes that's all it takes to start a change. As the human ships began their repairs and Haven Colony slowly returned to life, Verachin understood that something fundamental had shifted. The galaxy had been built on assumptions about warfare, about technology, about what was possible. The humans had just shattered those assumptions. They had come from a world that forged them in fire and storm. They had built their ships to endure what would destroy others, and when they heard a call for help, they had answered without hesitation. Krillians had been certain of victory. They had conquered 17 systems with that certainty, but they had never faced deathers before, and now the entire galaxy would learn what that meant.